these can ultimately be adapted and institutionalized in your own countries. So we will be introducing also the ICBA's guidance on assessment, and you will see a lot of scorecards that will be shared by my colleagues. But what I want, as I conclude, I just want to mention that be expectant and be open-minded in these sessions as we go through the different learnings that are going to be shared by the experts. And I encourage you to make sure that this is not simply a presentation. Don't follow just the presentations for the sake of presenting them, but try to relate them with your national experiences in terms of what are the key things that you can take on, what are the key learnings that can address the gaps and challenges that you have at national level. And I know that by the end of it all, your capacities will be improved in terms of how to implement sustainable, evidence-based and gender-responsive and inclusive teacher development programs. So with those few remarks, and on behalf of UNESCO ICBA and my director and everybody that has been able to organize, I warmly welcome you to this first session, very exciting session. I don't want to unpack what is in the session, but I look forward to the learning and the collaboration that will emerge from this particular session and the entire community of practice. Thank you so much, colleagues, and back to the organizers.
Thank you very much, Victoria, for those welcome remarks and for setting the context for our community. We are grateful for the word of wisdom. And you pointed something very important about relating the learning to our real life experience. We are very grateful and we take the challenge, and we hope as we unpack, the learning experience will be deep, experiential, and transferable. Thank you very much for gracing our session and also opening it up. And I'd like to welcome Marianne to give a snapshot of the program, of the course before we begin. Marianne, please.
Thank you, Maina. Thank you so much, Dr. Maina Gyako, and thank you, Dr. Victoria, for your comments. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm going to take just a few minutes to give a brief overview about the entire course in COP. COP stands for Community of Practice, and I think we all know by now that we are joining something different than a typical webinar series with presentations and guest speakers. This is a community of learners. We are all in this space to learn, practice, to apply our learning, and to bring our expertise and our questions to strengthen teacher development in whatever way that we can in our schools, in our departments, in our workplaces. So next slide, please. Okay, I want to give a brief overview. So as we all know, we're here to understand and strengthen in-service teacher development and professional development and education in Africa, focusing on our countries that we work in. We are all here joining from Africa. There might be a few people who are not, but overall, this is a community that's focused on Africa. We have 10 virtual workshops. We meet every other Wednesday, starting from today and going till 16th December. The dates we don't foresee too many changes with those dates, but if there is a change, we're going to tell you with plenty of time in advance, and we'll work with you to find a date that seems like it works for the majority. We want to structure this space sort of like a course. It's a self-paced, but a directed course. So you can, whatever you put into it, you're going to get out of it. If you can devote 3 hours of time after every session, you're going to learn a lot. If you can devote 1 hour after every session, then you're going to learn a lot still. If you don't have much time, then you'll be able to get as much time as you're able to put into it, out of it. So if you can devote yourselves to attending these 10 workshops and also to do the short assignments between each session, and then one final assignment at the end, then we think you're going to get a lot out of this experience. You will all have the chance to help each other to learn, and you'll have a chance to work on short assignments between each session. These will take different forms. They might look like comments that you have to leave on a discussion board, a short reflective essay that you might have to write, or a worksheet to fill out about looking at your own country's education policy to just familiarize yourself with the document and where it's located and when it was published, things like that. Or some applied, or some recommended reading for the next session to prepare yourself. So there'll be different short assignments that we recommend you to take. And the one big one is going to be an applied assignment that will be due in December. So it's one in which you'll get to do an action to actualize your learning. This will take different forms, and we don't ask you to choose one today, but we will give you an outline that will show all the assignment options on there, so you can familiarize yourself with what you might want to do in the next couple of weeks. So in the past, we've had people do different types of assignments, like some of them have done interviews with teachers in their schools or in their departments, their teacher education departments. I don't see the slides anymore, Mina, but I'm going to just wing it and speak without the slides, but they're not showing up.
Yeah,
the
I'm showing
assignment,
shortly, I'm just showing, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So the applied assignment that you'll get to take, there'll be several options that you can take, and we'll talk more about that in the next couple of weeks. But we're going to share with you a document today that will give you those assignment options, and we encourage you to take a look at that. And then I want to also tell you that we do want to recognize your time that you'll spend with us. We realize this is a time commitment. There are 10 sessions, and each session is about 2 hours. So if you attend 8 out of the 10 sessions, and if you do the final assignment, that's the applied assignment that I was mentioning, that's due in December, if you do that, we will give you a certificate of completion for this course. And it's a digital certificate that you can use, you can put into your CV, you can display on your wall. And it's usually one that people do take some pride in because it's from ICPA, UNESCO, ICPA, and all of our partners too. So this is the community of practice space. And again, I want to emphasize that it's a space for all of us to learn and to share and to grow. You will get as much out of it as you put into it. And this is a community. It's not a typical course. It's a community of practitioners. All of us are here to give as much time as we can to learn, to share, and to grow. And we know that you are busy. We know that you go back to work at the end of the session. So we recognize your time, and we encourage you to try to apply your learning and to come back with questions and to come with experiences to share in this space. We have a WhatsApp group. We have Google Classroom, different places for you to connect. And of course, you're free to use the chat box here in these sessions, and we'll have time for you to raise your hand and to also comment and come in and share questions today. So can we go to the next slide, please? I think we're just about done with my few comments. Yes, so I'll give this one as, Mina, is this for you or for me? Sorry, this slide. Sorry, Mina, you're on mute. Did you want to explain this, or would you like me?
Thank you very much, Marianne, for giving us the structure of the course and what it will take. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to begin. We have been given the scope and the sequence of the course. And the expectation is that throughout the course, we'll have an opportunity to explore the teacher professional learning system. That includes policies, standard governance, and quality assurance, and also be able to identify strength and opportunity for improvement. We'll also have an opportunity, because having access to the policies and standard, to apply the evidence and the promising practice to strengthen professional learning so that it's relevant, collaborative, and responsive to our context, as well as being sustainable. It's also an opportunity for us on the school leadership in creating conditions and culture and structure that enable teachers to learn continuously. As we move together as a community, we'll be able to build communities of professional learning where the people we engage with can learn, collaborate, inquire together, share knowledge, and use evidence. So this is an opportunity for us to engage, to use evidence, to have peer learning opportunity, to examine the professional learning challenges we have across board with our uniqueness in the context, so that we see, are we able to develop practical actions for applying and sustaining what we have learned beyond the community of practice. So this is not a cause. This is an opportunity for us to engage and to ask a very key question. What does this mean for my context? What can I apply? And what needs to change? So that is what we are going to look over the 10 sessions. But for the beginning of this session, we hope that towards the today, as the session ends, you'll have a shared understanding of the nature of community of practice we are going to work together, and how all of us will be contributing. Each of us will have a stake in ensuring that this is successful. We're going to explore some key characteristics of effective teacher professional development systems, and we'll begin by connecting to the regional evidence with our own country context. Most importantly, I would like each of us to leave with at least one priority issue question or an area of interest that we want to explore further during the committee of practice. So as we go through today's session, don't just listen. Listen for connections, come up with questions, and look at possibilities for your own context. And therefore, as we work together, we like to agree that this is a space for all of us. Everybody will have an opportunity to contribute. So when somebody is speaking, somebody can use the chat to contribute. We want everybody to actively participate. We are now 119 and we're expecting 300. So people are still joining as we move on. Don't be left out. Your voice counts. And this is an opportunity for co-creation, not absorption, but you want co-creation. You take information here, you immerse in it, you apply it, and you come up with new ideas. Please ask questions when you can, post comments. When you see a question and you have an answer, respond to that. It's a community. We are all together. And ensure that if you're not speaking, mute your mic so that we are able to hear the speaker. Ensure your comments and questions are very brief so that everybody can see them and everybody can also be able to answer. I welcome everybody to this journey. I don't know who is in the room. So now I want to know who is in the room. Please give us your country, your role in the organization, and one hope you have for this community. So share in chat your country, your role in the organization you are, and we are keen to hear one hope you have for this community you are joining today. I'm looking at the chat to see. Yes, don't just give us your name and what you do and one hope you have for the session. Thank you very much. They are coming in. All the way from Limpopo, I have there, from Casablanca, yes, Eswatini. Please share what you're doing. And from Mozambique, thank you very much, Olivia. All those countries you see in blue on the map are represented here. Thank you from Namibia, Haiti. Thank you very much, Ethiopia. I can see Merekeo. Thank you very much, Jelen. Thank you very much, Alfred. Okay, and I'll call some few people to introduce themselves. I have a chance to identify Alfred Okello from Uganda. Can you unmute and just briefly introduce yourself? I'll pick some few people. Alfred Okello. Please unmute.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Maina. My name is Alfred Okello. I am from Uganda. I do facilitate quite a number of continuous professional development programs at the Ministry of Education and Sports. For example, I have a current program which is going on, which is called Leaders in Teaching, being run by MasterCard Foundation. And one pillar. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, the last comment is important for us. Yes.
Yes, I'm working on one pillar which is being overseen by the British Council. And the
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we have Josiah Olesegun from Nigeria? Josiah, please unmute. Josiah.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. The name is Professor Josiah Ajiboye from the University of Ibadan. I'm the immediate past Registrar Chief Executive of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria and the immediate past President of the African Federation of Teaching Regulatory Authorities. It's my pleasure to be here This is a further learning opportunities. I've been part of UNESCO ICBA leadership training programs, especially when it comes to community of practice in Ghana. And I think this is a platform where one can learn further about how to organize community of practice in terms of in-service teacher development. So I'm glad to be here, and it's an open place to learn and to learn more about teacher development in the continent. So thank you very much for putting this program together.
Thank you very much, Professor. I am now going to go to Kenya. I have Efangota. Efangota, please, can you unmute and speak? I'm just sampling some few people. Efangota from Kenya.
Good afternoon, everyone, if you are in Africa, and those who are not in Africa, good morning. I am Efangota. I hope I'm audible enough.
You are audible, madam.
Thank you. I work for the Kenya National Examinations Council. I'm an assistant director in teacher education in charge of languages and special needs education. I look forward to learning a lot from all the colleagues that are on this community of practice cohort. I look forward to an opportunity to co-create on how best we can have a real inclusive education system through teacher professional development systems. How best we can choose who best supports inclusive education and how do we develop them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Effa. You have said best 3 times, so we are going to ensure we are best in whatever we do. Finally, I'll call Mweru Mwingi from Tanzania.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to say hello to these many people from across Africa. I'm a teacher educator at Aga Khan University Institute for Educational Development, based in Dar es Salaam. And for me, the thing I look forward to is really learning about what teachers and teacher educators are doing across the continent of Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mweru. You are in the right group, the right community. Our diversity here is something it is not something we need to overcome. It is one of the resources that we need to embrace as we learn. So just to begin, I want us to watch a short video, but as you are watching, you can see the questions which are there on the side of the video. You will be required to answer those questions and watch the video as a stimulus, but connect it with your own context. Ask yourself, what will make this community of practice a space where you genuinely learn from and with others? And also think of one thing you will take from this video you are watching and one thing that you will need to avoid to make this a meaningful endeavor for the next 3 months up to December. So let's watch the video and answer those questions in the chat.
The term community of practice is of relatively recent coinage, even though the phenomenon it refers to is age-old. The concept has turned out to provide a useful perspective on knowing and learning. Communities of practice are formed by people who engage in a process of collective learning in a shared domain of human endeavor. Think of a tribe learning to survive, a band of artists seeking new forms of expression, a group of engineers working on similar problems, a clique of pupils defining their identity in the school, a network of surgeons exploring novel techniques, or a gathering of first-time managers helping each other cope. In a nutshell, communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. Not everything called a community is a community of practice. A neighborhood, for instance, is often called a community, but is usually not a community of practice. So what are the characteristics of a community of practice? 3 characteristics are crucial. Beverly will briefly explain.
Let me begin with the first characteristic, the domain. A community of practice is not merely a club of friends or a network of connections between people. It has an identity defined by a shared domain of interest. Membership, therefore, implies a commitment to the domain, and therefore a shared competence that distinguishes members from other people. Now to the second characteristic, the community. In pursuing their interest in their domain, members engage in joint activities and discussions, help each other, and share information. They build relationships that enable them to learn from each other. They care about their standing with each other. A website in itself is not a community of practice. Having the same job or the same title does not make for a community of practice unless members interact and learn together. And the third characteristic, the practice. A community of practice is not merely a community of interest. People who like certain kinds of movies, for instance. Members of a community of practice are practitioners. They develop a shared repertoire of resources such as experiences, stories, tools, and ways of addressing recurring problems. In short, a shared practice.
It is the combination of these three elements that constitutes a community of practice. And it is by developing these three elements in parallel that one cultivates such a community.
This e-learning video is produced and brought to you by Skills Academia. To learn more, please refer to the original source.
Okay.
The term
So
community
there we
of
are.
practice is of relatively recent.
We have had it. Can I get quick responses in the chat? Quick responses to those two questions, and I'll pick somebody, one or two people to share. Quick responses. I can see Derek Charles. Derek Charles, are you there? Can you unmute and respond as other people are typing? Derek Charles.
Hi, Dr. Biako, how are you?
I'm very fine. Any response to any of those two questions? Choose one.
What makes a community of practice different from a group? A community of practice is a group of people who, as it has been said, share a vision of improving their practice. Let's say, for example, if they are teachers, they come together so that they can improve their act of teaching.
Thank you very much.
That's how I'd put it in my own words.
Yes. Here it's co-creation and ownership. Thank you very much for that, Derek. Can we go to Dorina Jana? Dorina Jana, can you unmute and share? Dorina, are you there? Dorina Jana? Dorina is not able. Let me choose another person. Diana Rose Njui. Diana Rose Njui, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Choose one of the answers, one of the questions, and give us an answer.
Yeah. So, what is a COPA? So, it is a vision. It is a people who share a vision coming together, a vision of practice, and they work to improve their performance. So they already have a practice, so they are working on how they can be able to make it even much better.
Thank you very much for that. And finally, I want Maneo Matopi. Maneo Matopi, are you there?
Yes, Ndata, I'm here.
Give us your answer. You have two devices near you.
Yes.
Mute one of the
yes,
devices.
Ndata. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, Ndata. Yes, in a community of practice, the teachers, they come together, they share ideas, maybe in lesson designing, they assess students together and they share all the information that is relevant to improve learner outcomes.
Thank you very much. And finally, I need Oyugoga. Oyugoga, are you there, Oyugoga? Oyugoga, are you there? It seems like Oyugoga is not there. Oyugoga is not there. I want to pick one final person. I'm just running the wheel.
Okay, I'm here, sorry.
Okay, please respond to one of those questions.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I believe that the real essence of community of practice is to explore collective intelligence on a particular field of endeavor with the aim of improving, developing, and growth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those nice contextual definitions. So everybody looks at it from their own perspective, but if you look at, there's an underlying aspect of bringing people together. There's an underlying aspect of co-creating something together. Over to you, Richard.
Great. Well, thank you, Mina. It's such a great pleasure to be here with so many exciting and fantastic people from all around the world. Victoria said something at the start that really inspired me, that this COP is about learning and collaborating. I just had a thought before I ask you the question on the slide. How many years experience working in a school or with teachers in a school is there in the room? So I might just put mine in. It's actually 37. I'm just going to put your number in there. Maybe we'll do a quick adding up of it. How many years experience have we got in this room? Wow, 19, 6, 20. I can't add up that quickly. It's a huge amount. My guess would be we've got nearly 300 people here, haven't we? I think altogether, Mina. So my guess is going to be if there's 300 people, that's 3,000 times 2. That's about 6,000 years of teaching experience. What was happening, I'm thinking to myself, being in Casablanca, I can hear the Atlantic now through my window, which is wonderful. 6,000 years ago in Casablanca. What was happening where you are right now 6,000 years ago? Just think about all of that time, and all of that experience with teaching schools is right here in this room. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've got 2 jobs, by the way, which makes this so exciting for me. I'm going to be writing up that pooled experience of thousands of years working with teachers and what works for you. And I'm also going to be providing you interesting information in the Google Drive. It's a great opportunity if you've not used Google Drive before. If you find that a bit challenging, great. That's where the best learning comes from. Get in Google Drive and we'll be putting some interesting things. Maybe say a bit more about that later. But here's a question for you, and I'll get some people to say their answers as well, just like mine has done. What do you want this COP rather, to help you understand? So in the chat, just put a few notes here. When you think about teacher professional development in your country, what is one issue you would most like this community of practice to help you understand better? Have a little think about that and pop that in the chat. What have we got here? Any thoughts? What do we got? New messages. Great. I'm just looking for some responses here. What is the leading research on effective teacher professional development? Sakina, do you want to say a little bit about that and where you're from? Do you want to put your microphone on? That's Sakina Elokar. Sorry if I pronounce your name. Do you want to just say a little bit about your question and why it's important to you?
You're part of a very unique group that has pronounced my surname 100% correct.
Oh,
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sakina Alaka from Cape Town, right at the bottom of Africa. I train and coach school leaders and teachers in instructional leadership practices. I think when we think about professional development and what we train school leaders or teachers on, I think it must be backed by studies that have verified that those practices actually work, and not something somebody just decided looks good or sounds good. So I think and it also comes from thinking about and sharing information that's data driven. And that's also very important. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Great. Well, later on, I won't say too much about this now. We'll be sharing a summary of what the randomized control trial evidence says about teacher effectiveness and effectiveness where student outcomes improve as a result of it. And the good news is it involves a lot of making sure that the evidence relates to real classroom practice and what teachers do. I won't say any more than that, but it's a great point. Of course, whatever the evidence says, it won't tell you what to do in your context. You can have the best evidence in the world, but it's how you apply it in your context, and you are the experts in your context, which is what this is all about. Mina, do you want to add any thoughts before we move on to the next section?
No, I think I'm in agreement with what you have said. It's more about contextualizing. This helicopter stuff is something we need to ask ourselves critically. What does it mean for me and my context and my experience? So there's a lot of need for open-mindedness and flexibility as we get access to all this information so that we can see what is it in for me, what they call YFM. Over to you, Richard.
Yes, I've seen another comment there. Oh, it's gone by so quickly. We've got so many brilliant comments. Nothing you write in the chat will be lost. We're going to be capturing all of this, and it's going to contribute to the final report, by the way. Somebody said something about demotivation. It went by so quickly because there's so many brilliant comments. Who was it who was talking about the context they're in that's demotivating? I'll see if I can find it and invite you to say a little bit about why teacher motivation is so important for you and understanding what works. Oh, no, I can't find. Oh, now that is a name. Cylindile. Apologies if I've got. Yes, do please talk about that.
Hi everyone, my name is Cylindile, based in South Africa in the northern KwaZulu-Natal. I honestly believe that most educators in my area are so demotivated. They want to quit. They don't have that eager. They have lost that spark of being more than an educator. And with all these challenges that we currently face in our communities, I think it is time to give them that perspective that being a teacher, being an educator, is beyond the curriculum. You have to be a parent beyond anything. And the power of an educator can have a great impact on a learner. Being a person who was raised in the rural area myself, I honestly believe that there was one educator who changed my life for the better. So having that in mind as an educator, it'll lift them, it'll give them that morale to even work beyond what is currently happening. For instance, the changes of the curriculum within the institution, within the system, and all of that, just to have a focus of saying that we are here to bring desired change in the lives of learners, regardless of what is happening beyond the curriculum, beyond the institution, beyond the policies for that matter. I thank you.
Great, thanks so much. Some really great comments there. And it's sort of that famous phrase people use sometimes, it's the way you do it that matters, isn't it? Not just what you do. And we know that's so important for teachers. They do such a great job. So thinking about the way we do things and why that's important, we've got a plan for how we're going to engage with you in this community of practice. And here it is. We've done a lot of thought on the best way, based on the evidence of how to engage with online learners in a community of practice. And we're going to be asking you to engage in this way. The live sessions, like the ones you're in here, are an opportunity to connect and learn with each other. And as Mina has demonstrated, and I hope I have in my short session, we're really keen to hear from you and for you to connect with each other. And also remember that this community of practice, I would hope, will carry on for many years beyond just this session. feel free when people say things are interesting to connect with other people. Hopefully in many years' time, you'll still be WhatsApping people and saying, hi, remember me? I made this point all that years ago. Tell me more about how you're motivating people in your country, how you're doing this, because that's the way we'll share all those thousands of years of experience that are in the room and continue to do it well. So after the live sessions, we're also going to be asking you to apply ideas and learning to your own context. And that's the key thing, trying them out, seeing what happens. So we'll be asking you to think about areas in your own practice that you might want to apply something that you've thought about or heard from other people or read in the materials that we'll be posting online that could make things better. We're very keen for you to let us know about your reflections as well. So where you'll be thinking about what happened, what you learned, and what it's meant. And this COP is all about that. It's all about you thinking about changing something, knowing you've changed it, and then checking it worked and evaluating the change. That's what it's all about. We won't be giving you hundreds and hundreds of words. We'll be engaging with you in that way. We're very keen as well for you to share your learning with your online community. I know already from some of the chat messages that people is planning to get people together. Feel free to get people together in your own communities and share some of the things that you've learned today. And we are going to be asking you to document some of the things you've done, and Mina will be talking a little bit about that. So you can write to us about what it is that you did and what made a difference, and the impact particularly in a short portfolio. And the idea is you carry forward your questions and ideas into the next cycle. I think that's my 3 minutes for that slide. See how organized we are. Mina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Richard, for showing that this series is not signposts, but it is continuous and it is one feeding into the other. So the live session is just a landing point, engaging and sharing. But then after this, we will continue engaging in our Google Classroom, and I will be demonstrating how to access. You see, it's very simple, just like a Drive with all accessories. I will show how to navigate there, and I'll give you a link. Then I'll give you an assignment to see if you can join and post something. So we're just going to have a short interaction so that we begin to assimilate ourselves with Google Classroom, and you don't have to master the Google Classroom. It's just an easy place whereby you just go in and you see. And in the Google Classroom, there'll be 4 areas where you need to look at. There'll be the stream, and the stream is where we will be chatting and we'll be posting information. Then there'll be the classwork, where we have all the classworks, and then there will be the resources. And then if there's any activity you are required, you are going to do in that particular Google Classroom. So I want to quickly go to the Google Classroom just to show you, and let me see how we can. So this is the landing page for the Google Classroom. You can see that is the that's how our classroom looks like. And this is where we call a stream. So in the stream is where you'll come in and just click there and post an information. Hello team, how are you? So you'll just come and post information, and when you post the information there, it's going to say who posted it and what do we have. And then if you go up here, you'll see there are people. At the moment you have not joined, but I'm sure in the next minute, once I give you the link, everybody will join. Then we have the classwork. So in the classwork, we have things organized the way you can see. There is start here. So it just guides you. This is where to start. You can click that. It tells you the information, gives you how to navigate. It shows you the process. Then you click on the calendar. All the dates are there. So if there's any change, everything will be communicated here. It also guides you on how you'll maintain your professional learning portfolio. It also tells you about the journey, what we have just said. So it is captured here on how the journey will be. You can access it anytime. And also it's also guiding you how you will be sharing what you are learning. So this is a landing point where you come. When you come here, you just go start here. And then all our 10 sessions, they will be in the same format. Each session will be having before, the live, your application, and reflection. This is the session we are in currently. Session 2 will be the same, and all sessions will form the same pattern. In case you are stuck and you have any issue, you just email us, or you just post on the WhatsApp, because the WhatsApp link will be shared.
Hello.
Yes?
I'm sorry.
Yes?
I have a question. Where did we find the link of the classroom, please?
Is in the chat. I was waiting to do that. So I want to give everybody a challenge. Click the link in the chat, go to the Google Classroom, go to the stream, and say something. I've shared the link in the chat. So I'm sharing it again so that if you have come late, you see it. Go to the Google Classroom, there is a link. Click on that link and join the classroom, and go to the stream and say hello. Then we can consider. I want to see who will be the first person to be in the Google Classroom and to say hello. I'm watching the stream. I can share the stream there. The link is there in the chat. If you can't see the link, please just say, I can't see the link, and we are going to see how to make it reach to you. It is a place. Great. Eden Ajat is the first one. But we already have 16 people who have joined. Mary are there, Bogile, Cliff is there. We have Frankie. Yes. So this is Dr. Mary is there. Great. So this will be our classroom. That's where we'll be sharing. Okay. Can somebody tell me if they can find the task for session 1? Go to the classroom and see if you can find task for session 1. Then you tell me. Yvonne, great. Yvonne is there. Diana Rose is there. Great, great, great. Sozi is there. Great. Marianne is there. Great. So I can see everybody is there. So this will be our platform. This is where you, if you have a question, and if you post a question there, anybody can answer you. You can post a question there, and somebody who knows that answer can answer, because that is our community. Great, great, great. I'm waiting for somebody who has gone to classroom. Once you go post, I found it. I want somebody, if you can, you go to classroom and go to the classroom and look for session 1 and say, I found it, and come here and tell us, I found it. Okay, I'm looking at that to see if somebody has found something in the class. Robert is here. Wow, okay. Winnie Joy is here. Great. So this is our place, very simple. Oh, Richard, you are here, great. So this is our place, and the classroom will be there. All activity are there, very simple, very direct. You don't have to be an expert. And if you are stuck, if you think things are not going right, remember, we are here for you, and we are here to support you. And you can always go to the WhatsApp and share, because WhatsApp will also be used for reminders and quick support. But remember, in the Google Classroom, we'll be having structured conversation. We are going to be having interactions in the Google Classroom. There'll be submissions which you can share, and other people. Remember, we are co-creating. We are in a community whereby you have, I have, Ubuntu, we share and become. I am because you are. And that is what we aspire to be as we work together. So, ladies and gentlemen, having prepared you for such, we are now coming to that point whereby we have our substantive input, because in our sessions, we'll be having input from experts, from research, from evidence, so that we are able to understand. So we are pleased to have ICBA provide a regional perspective on teacher competencies, standard, evidence relating to teacher development. As you listen, I encourage you to connect with what you hear to your professional learning. Remember, we agreed where your thinking hurts. Be open-minded and get what is going to be presented by our director. So, don't
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, hello, Zo from Madagascar. Can you repeat, please, about our classroom because I have some problem here, please.
Were you able to connect in the Google Classroom?
Not yet. I can't. I don't know why, but I can't. Can you repeat, please, the explanation about it, please?
We are going, Rufi Dirama, we are going to share the link in the chat. Then you can chat me there while we are trying to move on. Yeah, I'm going to share in the chat. Don't worry.
Yes. You mean in my mailbox, right?
No, just now I'm going to share with you. I'm going to post you to the. We are going to chat me and you there in the chat. In the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see that. Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rafidi Manana. I'll do that. So ladies and gentlemen,
it's very long. You can tell me so.
Thank you, Zo. Thank you very much, Zo. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay, thank you.
As the director will be presenting, don't try to capture everything, but listen and identify one idea or a question, something you want to bring to the discussion. If you have a question, post it in the chat because he's going to respond to all our questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome our director, Dr. Quintin, to do the presentation. Doc.
Yes, sorry for being a bit late. Thank you, and Maina, I think you are showing the slides, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we can start. So thank you all for being here today. We actually had a lot of people who wanted to participate in the COP, and we had to reduce the numbers. So you have been selected to be part of the COP. For the others, we will organize 1 or 2 webinars separately. I'm very happy that we have people from very many countries, and some names I recognize, like Professor Ajiboye from AFTRA, so thanks for being here. What I want to do today, and I think I've been given about 15 minutes, is to share some insights from work we are doing at TIGBA. I'm actually going to put my headphones because the quality of the sound might be better for you.
All right. You can still hear me. Can you show the slides, Maina? Because I don't see them on the screen.
They are showing.
Oh, they are showing. I mean, on me, I just see something which is the course as opposed to the slides. Now they are showing. Thank you. You can go to the next slide. So we are working in Africa, and many of you may know that the African Union has frameworks for issues related to teachers and school leaders, and especially professional development. I'm not going to be able to go through those frameworks today. Maybe we could have one session in the COP to look at them in more details, but they include the African Continental Teacher Qualification Framework. One of the basic ideas is that there should be some minimal requirements for teachers. That's initial teacher education. That was discussed in the previous COP that ran last year. Of course, we need continuous professional development, CPD, but that CPD should really be informed by a structure of career stages and clear competencies for teachers and for school leaders. And I'll explain a little bit what I mean by that. We need to have requirements for professional regulators. I mean, you are all coming from Anglophone countries, I think. There's a very big difference between Anglophone Africa and Francophone Africa in terms of how the teaching profession is regulated. In many Anglophone countries, you have the Ministry of Education, but you also have either a teacher council or you have a teacher service commissions, and those are typically the regulators, and they have very specific functions. And then, of course, we need to ensure that the teacher status and the working conditions of the teachers are adequate. We have done a lot of work at TIGBA on that, and that might be also something that we share in a future session of the COP. You can go to the next slide, Mina. So what we did in the last year and a half is do a small survey for the officials in the ministries of education and in the teacher councils or the teacher service commissions, depending on the country, to try to understand, did they know about the African Union frameworks? And next, did they have policies that were broadly in line with those frameworks? By the way, all the slides in the COP are going to be made available for you, right? And we also have a number of reports that are coming up and that we will share with you. So the first finding is that we had answers from 21 countries, 33 responses. Right now we have 26 countries, but I have to adapt the slides. It doesn't change much whether I use 21 or 23 countries. The reason why you have more than one response is that in a country, for example, where you have a ministry and you have a teacher council, you would have one respondent from the ministry and one respondent from the teacher council. That would be two. In some countries, you have only one respondent. This is Africa-wide, by the way. It's not only in the Anglophone countries. And when I mentioned that in the Anglophone countries, you have teaching regulatory authorities that are a little bit different from the ministries, in the Francophone countries, that is not the case, actually. The ministry has both functions, the policy function and the regulatory function for teachers. So in those cases, we have only one response. But broadly speaking, I mean, people are not aware of those frameworks. I would bet that if we ask you today, I mean, there's 134 of you in the room. Do you know those frameworks? I mean, we have a few people who would know them, right? But I think many people would not know them, or at least not know them in details. Now, I don't think that the African Union frameworks are necessarily better than other frameworks, but they are good. I mean, they were based when they were created in 2019. They are based on the literature and the evidence, and I see a real benefit for countries to follow the African Union guidance because it helps to harmonize what we have in different countries, and one of the objectives should be to facilitate mobility of teachers and school leaders across countries, right? In many countries, you have teacher shortages. In some countries, you actually have too many teachers. There's no job, right? And having clear comparability of frameworks and even licensing mechanisms that could be across countries could be very beneficial. In other parts of the world, this is actually happening, right? So first, people are not aware of those frameworks. That's a first point. You can go to the next slide, Mina. So second, by and large, when countries do have competency frameworks for teachers or for school leaders, they are very partial. So again, I cannot go in details. We'll have more sessions and we can go in more details in future sessions. But here you have a list of a few competencies for teachers in the African Union standards. And you can see that for most of them, actually, those competencies are not part of what countries require of their teachers. For professional knowledge and pedagogy, I mean, that is kind of okay. I mean, although you have only half the countries that match the competencies of the African Union, but for other areas, you have very, very few of the respondents who say that their competencies match those of the African Union. And the next slide shows the same thing for school leaders. So developing self and others, leading professional staff, managing resources. I mean, you have a lot of things. If I recall, there are 7 domains in the African Union standards. And you can see that by and large, I mean, none of them are represented except for leading professionals, right? What that suggests to me is that, I mean, in some countries, you may have very good competency frameworks for teachers and school leaders, but in many cases, this is still something that has to be defined, right, and or improved. Now, the next slide, we are looking at a very simple question. Do we have career stages for teachers and school leaders, right? I mean, we kind of know, I think you all know, that in many countries, the teaching profession is not very attractive. And there are lots of reasons for that, right? I mean, the wages are typically low. In some countries like Ethiopia, they are very low. In some countries, they are not that low. Actually, they are above similar wages that individuals with the same experience and education could get. But in many countries, they are low, right? Wages is not the only determinant of teacher satisfaction and why people become teachers. People become teachers, and we have lots of data on that, because they care about teaching and learning, and they care about students and so on. They actually remain in teaching often because of the quality of the school leadership. But I mean, decent salaries matter, as well as options for career progression, right? If you don't have any career progression, and if you don't have a system that rewards, including financially, teachers as they move through steps of the careers, you don't have a lot of incentive for people to do the best they can, right? There is intrinsic motivation, fine, but you also need extrinsic motivation. And so to me, career stages are one of the tools for that. The African Union recommends 4 career stages for teachers and also 4 career stages for school leaders. And what you see here is that most of the countries, right, especially for school leaders, do not have career stages. And some have 2 or 3. There are a few countries that have too many career stages, right? But we should try to ensure that clear career stages are defined. And I would say that 4 is a good number. I mean, 2 or 3 is better than nothing. But if you get only 2 or 3 promotions in your whole career, that's not a lot, right? And that deprives us again of an incentive for teachers and a way to recognize expertise, right? It's not only an incentive. The next slide is about CPD frameworks, right? Do countries have a CPD framework? Do credits or are credits provided to the participants and incentives as well to undertake CPD? And then do those credits that you get when you do CPD help in advancing the career stages? And here what you see is that in 60% of the responses to that survey that we did, there is a national CPD framework. I mean, that's better than nothing, but 60% is not very high. I mean, this is a very basic thing that countries should have, a national CPD framework that helps organize the training that you provide, both pre-service but especially in service, right? Then do participants get credits when they take CPD? You see that only 1 in 3 of the respondents say that their country actually provides credits to the participants. For that, by the way, you need a system, right? Typically, these are digital systems that record the training that teachers or school leaders undertake. The training can be provided by the ministry, the Teacher Council, the Teacher Service Commission, or it can also be provided by external vendors, right? But then recognized and validated by the ministry, let's say, right? So you see that very few countries actually use the CPD to give credits to participants, recognitions to participants. And even fewer countries actually require those credits for teachers to move along the career stages, right? So what we are saying at IGBA, which is what the African Union is saying, which is what the Africa Federation of Teaching, Regulatory authorities is saying is that, well, first you need to have careers, then you need to define the competencies for those different career stages. What do teachers or school leaders need to acquire? Then you need to provide the training for this, and especially the CPD, but then you need to recognize that training, and then you need to request that training to advance in the career. So you need to organize all of that in-service training much better. I would add that it's a good idea also, if that's feasible in a country, to provide small economic incentives for teachers to take training. And depending on how this is set up, for example, if you have external vendors providing training, maybe there's a cost to take the training, and then those incentives from the ministry or the teacher council or the teacher service commissions help the teachers to pay for that cost, right? So it's part of an ecosystem. But CPD should not have to be paid by the teachers, at least not a certain minimum amount of CPD. So Ghana, for example, is one of the countries that does this. I mean, they provide an allocation for teachers to be able to undertake CPD. We think that this is something that can be done at very low cost. Many of those trainings can be online. There are ways of doing online training without access to internet. I mean, there are all kind of possibilities here. We won't have the time to discuss that today, but again, it could be the topic of future sessions. So we are still very far from a very basic but important system in most countries: career stages, clear competencies, CPD, and then the CPD are actually helping to advance in the career stages. Now, the next slide is about the teachers benefiting from CPD. And you all know that, I think, but it's sometimes useful to have numbers, right? So there are two issues. I mean, one issue is that even though there might be lots of little CPDs available, right, most teachers do not get CPD. And so when we asked to those officials in the ministries and teachers' councils, teacher service commissions, what's the share of your teachers that got CPD in the last 3 years, you can see that for about 40% of the respondent, the response was that less than 20% of the teachers got any training in the last 3 years. That's extremely low, right? Now, in some countries, 80% of the teachers got training, but there are a lot that we have to do to expand access to CPD, right? And this is actually a request from the teachers as well. The other issue is that CPD tends to be fragmented, in part because it is funded often by donors, and then it becomes this little CPD on topic A, this little CPD on topic B, and there is a lot of effort that has to be done to try to harmonize and integrate what is provided by different parties to have consistent systems. The next slide, please. Now, what I would like to do in the next 5 or 7 minutes, if I still have that time, Mina, you cut me if I need to be cut. So is to give you one example of a program that I really like. It is a summer teacher training program that has been implemented in Ethiopia. I don't know if we have people from Ethiopia and who is here, but they did a very good job. We can go to the next slide. So one of the reasons why I think they did a good job, or the slide does not show well for the colors, but that's okay. One of the reasons why I think they did a good job is because they thought about it in a smart way. So this was done last year, 2025, and then also in 2024. And together, the Ethiopian ministry trained about 130,000, a bit more, teachers. So that's large. And this was done in a program that lasted 3 weeks, and that was implemented in person by having the teachers go to public universities that are all over the country. So there were different tracks for different types of teachers and school leaders. What I find absolutely outstanding is that they managed to do this at extremely low cost. The cost for the ministry itself was less than $100 per teacher participating for 3 weeks, including accommodation, including food, including everything. Now, the reason why they were able to do that at such a low cost is because they work with public universities, and the instructors are already paid. The dorms are available. This is done over the summer, so there's almost no cost for housing. Food is very cheap in Ethiopia, and so on, right? But imagine, I mean, you have a teacher that you can train in many different topics for 3 weeks, and you also build cohesion and exchanges among the teachers because they're all together from one area at the same universities. There were more than 30 universities that participated in this. So this slide is just to say that satisfaction and usefulness, and whether people were going to use the training that they got were high. Essentially, if you combine the two top categories, very, very useful and useful, so excluding the other three, the middle, and then the very dissatisfied and dissatisfied. So if you take the top two, essentially you have 2/3 to 3/4 of the teachers saying that this was very useful, that the content was great, that they were satisfied, and that they would be able to actually use the information in their teaching classroom. Next slide, please. Thank you. I won't go into all of the details here, but we have actually a paper that is being reviewed by the ministry for the evaluation. This was based on a quantitative online survey with more than 5,000 teachers participating. We also had qualitative data, but essentially across many dimensions or competencies, the students the students who are here, the teachers, were actually fairly satisfied. Next slide to go a bit faster. Now, did their knowledge improve? Yes. And what you have to know in a broad term, because I think this applies probably to many of your countries as well, is that Ethiopia, like other countries, is moving to a competency-based curriculum. And that requires a very different way of teaching, right? And so one of the aims here was to train the teachers in this new way of teaching. Kenya is one of the countries that led the initial wave of countries going to competency-based curriculum. It's not easy, and maybe that's also something that could be discussed in the COP. But here, essentially, teachers again suggested that the training helped them to understand what they need to do. Next slide. I think I have only 2 or 3 more slides. Did the duration work, the 3 weeks? Yes. The qualitative work suggests actually that it was perhaps a bit too packed. There was a lot of information, the days were long, but by and large, the students thought that these 3 weeks being together training was very useful. Again, low cost because it relied in part on the public universities in the country. Next slide. That's an important slide, and I think that's my last slide. Now, the teachers were asked, so what next? I mean, what would help you, right? Online resources, having access to online resources was the most cited, right? More materials. Again, this can be done by having, for example, local servers in schools without access to internet, right? So you don't have to think that everybody needs to have a great connection to the internet. We can provide online resources in a different way. Peer learning and then classroom pedagogy were also very important. And I heard Richard mentioning that at some point you would receive some guidance about what the literature says on what works for teacher training based on randomized controlled trials. We actually have a report at IGBA on that, so we'll share it with the team. But what is clear is that one of the main lessons is not to be providing lots of theory, etc., but to have something very practical and to have a very close coaching, if you will, and peer groups within schools so that people can absorb the lessons from what works in a very practical way and not just in theory. So next slide, I think, is my last slide, and that's just to say thank you. But I want to say one last thing. Marianne and Mena, I think, mentioned that we hope that many of you will complete an assignment for this course. I would love if some of you actually prepare a paper for that assignment. We had that happening in the last COP. We still need to publish most of those papers. We will have a special issue of a journal with a selection of papers. This is great because then you go a little bit more in detail, and then this can be shared, your experience or the experience of your country, with a much larger group of people. So we encourage you to consider writing a paper, and we will provide instruction on how that could be done as part of your practical assignment. There are other options, right? It's not only a paper, but I could tell you that from my point of view, the paper is the most useful for sharing what you have learned and what you know at a broad level with others. Maina, I think I went a bit further than 15 minutes, but back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Quintin. Actually, there is one member here, Meruku Ayu Asmare. He participated in that study. So he has done that. Thank you very much for very insightful work. Let's pause before moving on. I think you have captured one idea or a question you have captured, but I want you to think if there any question you want. I'm sure Dr. Quintin can answer one or two questions if you have any question, but think about what stood out for you. What confirmed something you already know? What challenged your thinking? What question did the evidence raise? What might this mean to your country? So thank you very much, Dr. Quintin, for that. And if I'm looking for any questions so that you can answer one or two questions before we move on. Anybody with a question, please? You can also raise up your hand and mute so that you can speak, but I'm looking at the chats. We look for two questions, then we proceed. If you have a question, please post here or unmute and ask.
I probably didn't do a good job, Maina, because there's no question.
Yeah.
I have a question, sir.
We have
I have a
one
question,
from,
sir.
yes, there's
Noluba
also one.
Taylor.
Yes, please. There is one, Dr. Quintin, you can read from Dr. Mweru. I think it's a comment. She says CPD works when it is designed and delivered in collaborative way. Okay, please, somebody has a question. Please proceed, unmute and speak.
Yes, it's Noluba Balokhani from Cape Town, South Africa. When I was listening to Dr. Wharton, to Dr. Quintin, he talked about a little bit about the budget that was used for the program. And now I'm thinking in the context of South Africa, if the education ministry is not willing to spend on education, how are we going to move forward with fixing whatever problems that we have with our policies and the issues that we have in our local schools? Because in our township schools, we are struggling with resources, we are struggling with material, teachers are exhausted, and the money in most schools, for an example now, in the rural areas, there are about 100 and something schools that are going to be closed because there are no learners. Parents are moving their learners to urban areas where they could find jobs, where they are working and all that. And those schools are going to be closed. And there are learners that are still there in the rural areas. And what is going to happen about them and what is going to happen to them because the government doesn't want, or they don't have money, or they're using the money for education in something else. So I'm a little bit concerned with our education system in South Africa in connection with finances and in connection with a budget that the education system is using. How is it using it, and how is it benefiting a South African child? I'm not sure if you get my
Thank you.
No, I understood your question. Yeah, maybe Maina, I can answer the question. So I would say two things, right? So one is that CPD, the way it is typically done, is often expensive. And so then the question is, do you find a way to do it in a less expensive way? So let me give you two examples. So one is again what Ethiopia did, where they managed to bring together those teachers in a residential, relatively long program over several weeks at very low cost, right? And we will make that evaluation available. I don't know whether that would work in South Africa, but by relying on public universities, I mean, they were able to provide that in-person training in a very, very cost-effective way, right? So the cost is much lower when you combine different types of trainings in one big session, right? Transport costs and other costs. It's also much more feasible, right? And so maybe other countries can learn from that experience. Two, they are, as another example of CPD that can be low cost. I mean, we just finished and published a study. It's on our website on what I call school eye health programs. These are programs for children with visual impairment, for inclusive education, therefore. And we could show that you can implement those programs, including providing eyeglasses. Actually, the eyeglasses can be often gotten for free from foundations. You can, for the children who need eyeglasses because of visual impairment, you can do that at the cost of $1 per child, right? Which is very low. And that's really the cost if you embed that training that you need to give to teachers to test the children in school for visual impairment as part of other trainings, right? The last thing I want to give as an example on cost is a very nice program in Uganda where you had a program piloted to essentially reduce violence in school, including violence by teachers, corporal punishment. When you do those programs at a pilot basis, they can be expensive, but the cost goes down to almost zero after 1 or 2 years when you have a little initial cost, for example, for manuals and things like that, when it's mainstream, and those simulators are available. So you have to think about cost in a very, very clever way. I would say that most ministries are very cash constrained, right? South Africa is one, but the others is the same. There is not a lot of what we call fiscal space to increase spending for education substantially, but there are ways of thinking about using the money that we have in a better way, right? So that's my response. Now, you mentioned, Madame, another question, which is that some of the schools are closing in rural areas. And here, I just want to give one idea, which is not only for areas where schools may be closing, but also for areas where you don't have a school and you have still children, right? Yesterday, we had a meeting with a very nice NGO. It's called Geneva Global. It works, among others, in Ethiopia. We have a program with them and others on trying to reduce or provide accelerated learning programs for children out of school. And so they were mentioning a small innovation that they did in Ethiopia, where in the areas where there is no school, right, they did little groups of 8 to 10 children that would meet in a house or whatever with a tutor. The tutor is not a teacher, with a tutor. And then there would be a teacher who would visit in a week 6 to 8 of those groups, right? Going from one group to the other, right? The tutor is there to ensure that that the students actually learn through a program that is very specifically designed for them with very specific exercise, etc., including on foundational learning, right? Literacy, numeracy, and things like that. So the tutor does not have to be a qualified teacher, but can follow the 8 to 10 kids that is assigned to, and then there is a teacher going from one group to the next because there is no school, right? And they did an evaluation of it, and it had remarkable remarkable positive impacts on the kids. They were really learning. And actually, the evaluation suggested that they could almost double the number of kids in those groups if needed, still with high levels of learning, right? So this is one approach that can be used to try to provide key learning and then pathways to join a higher level of schooling in areas where you don't have a school or you have a rural school that is closing. So I wanted to mention that as one example. We are trying at IGBA to document those various things, and we'll make sure that this is available to you during the COP. There were many other questions, Maina, that I saw in the chat, but I don't think we have the time. But I can tell you that we will keep track of your questions and make sure that we share with you documents or other things, as well as go back to those in the next sessions of the COP. Maina, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Quintin, for your input. And there are so many questions and others are answering the questions. So that's very okay. Thank you for your input. And it has given us a chance to think through what we heard and what it means for us, because we are seeing how are we going to consume this. Jefferson, your hand is up. You want to say something urgently, Jefferson?
I want to say something.
Yes,
are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for the COP. And I want to thank all the presenters. Thank you so much back for the brilliant presentation. My question is, would there be a time where we'll converge in one place physically to meet or to have some lesson together? Will that day come? Are you hearing me?
Is that a question? I didn't hear the question.
The question is, if we have a time after this virtual classes, if one of these days we have a time to have physical meeting, like meeting in one place physically, would that happen? Is there any time that will happen?
Okay.
You want me to answer, Maina? So the answer is no, but and this gives me an idea. The issue is, of course, cost, right? I mean, we have more than 150 people in the COP, I mean, some may have the ability, by the way, to pay for travel themselves, but most may not, right? And we don't have the budget for that. What we could do, Maina and Marianne, is we know, of course, which country you come from. I'm not sure we know which specific city you come from. But for this COP, we gave priority to some extent to people from ministry officials and universities and things like that, as opposed to teachers in a school somewhere, right? We will have something else for teachers because we had more than we had 1,100 people or more, I think, applying for the COP. But for you, we could actually send a survey to all of you and then see where you are and whether we could, between quote, catch a good number of you for something in person. We cannot do that in all the countries. Some of you, again, may have money. So no promise. But we can check it out, Marianne, right? We can see because we will have events most likely with at least some of us in some of the countries where we have a high participation rate, right? I think like Nigeria. I think Nigeria, we always have quite a few people, and I guess that's the same case this time, right? So we will think about what might be feasible budget-wise and practically, but otherwise, this is really a virtual COP. But we'll get back to you if we find a way for some of you to have you in one place. We can also inform some of you of events that are happening where you may have your own budget to go. Right. And Marianne, what I'm thinking here, especially is the Pacted Conference of the African Union, which is going to be in Eswatini, which I think is open to many people. If they can pay for their travel, we can send that information to you. And if you have enough people from the COP there, we will make sure that we find a way to do a side little thing with the COP, right? So we'll think about creative ways that are not too costly to make this work in some way. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Quintin, for that. I think we have a way forward. So ladies and gentlemen, in this virtual connection, I now want us to take 2 minutes. And from what we have heard about what Dr. Quintin has written down, write one idea down, one connection, and one question. Write them in the chat from what we have heard, because we now want to share, we want to digest, we want to engage with what we heard, so that by the time we are leaving here, we have something to go and try in our communities. There's something which is transferable. Have you got an idea which you can go and try? Is there one connection you have seen which you are relating with what you have? Is there one question? Let's put it in the slide here. Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much. Let's share in the slide. If there's something, we are now unpacking what we heard and synthesizing it to see what does it mean for us? What does it mean as we are moving forward, having heard? So what? What is it that we are picking from that very useful evidence of success in terms of professional learning? Let's share in our chat one idea. If it's an idea, write an idea or a connection you have made and a question you have. Let's just put it in our chat, because we want to learn from each other. Everybody has picked something different from the presentation, around 18 minutes of presentation, and everybody has picked. Thank you very much, Dr. Mweru. I can see that. Just write what you have picked up and something that you have a question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Winfred, for that question. Let's continue sharing. We are 138. That means if you do those 3 activities, an idea, a question, and a connection, we are going to have over 300 entries. And among those responses, we are going to learn from each other. Thank you very much, Josiah. Thank you very much. Cedric Mpaso, thank you very much. Dorothy Esau, thank you. Let's hear from the people. What you have heard, what are you taking away? Thank you very much, Kojo. Thank you. Is there something you are taking away? Is there a connection you are making from this particular session? Is there a question that you are raising? Thank you very much, Gerald. Asame, thank you, having participated in that. It's good to hear from you. Thank you, Efa. Alfred, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you. People are making connections. People are making, asking more questions. People are taking an idea. Thank you very much, Dr. Mweru. Thank you very much. Please read what your colleagues have taken away, because it's one way of learning from each other, because we all had the same speech, but everybody has internalized it differently. So it's very important. Thank you very much, Aliu, for that. Diana Rose, thank you. Taserewa, Nandi Sashidi, thank you. Oliver, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Mweru, there'll be a library in the Google Classroom and you'll get all those resources. Thank you very much, Kojo, again. Thank you very much, Cliff, for that. Thank you very much. Mustafa, thank you very much. Nicholas, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, team. We are doing great. I now want you to think about what you have been saying, because we have an opportunity. People have asked questions. People have asked an implication. And read through what your colleague have said. Remember, we are here for each other. And every person is having something which they are sharing. I want you to read through what other people have said. Take a read through. Just take a minute and read through. Read through what people have said. Put a thought in that. It can be something you have noticed from what. Now I want you to react from what other people have said. Read through what other people have said, and I want you to react on what your colleagues have said. Either something you have noticed, either a question you have based on what your colleague have reacted, or an implication you are taking away from your colleagues' responses. Thank you very much, Tiavina. Thank you very much, Zoo. I want us to react on what people have commented based on what we heard. Thank you very much, Dr. Mweru. Thank you very much, Oyugoga. Thank you very much. And I'll pick 2 people to give me their reactions. I'll pick 2 people to give me their reactions as people write. I'm just scrolling at it falls to Cliff Gar. Cliff Gar, can you react to what people reacted? I want a reaction on the reaction.
I think I had a feeling you'd pick me. I don't know why. But yeah, the reaction I immediately had when Doc was presenting was the CPD we did during COVID, where we had teachers, wherever they were locked down, to engage the students. It didn't matter which school they were coming from, just to engage the students and keep them busy. And it's something that worked, and it was amazing. And when schools resumed, we had created a community, and that's something that when Doc was presenting, it just came to me like, yeah, we did something like this. And it's something that if governments would actually pay attention to, it's a way that CPDs would work, because teachers live in a community, and those communities have students and have children. And I don't know how this can be scaled, and it was effective. That's one thing that has ignited a reaction in me. Thank you a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Cliff. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Winfred Joy. Winfred Joy, any reaction on the reaction?
Thank you so much, Doc. I'm from Uganda. What I've tried to elaborate is that we have these challenges across the continent, whether you're from west, east, the challenges are more or less the same. And therefore, we need to really engage a lot in the CPTs, so that we can all try to help our community and the schools and different institutions and make a big change. And then also try to collaborate with the ministries that are necessary, so that we can bring it down to the grassroots. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Winfred. Can we hear from Zoo? Zoo, what is your reaction on the reaction? Zoo from Madagascar. Zoo, are you there? Okay, I think Zoo is not able to connect. We have Nene Nderito. Nene Nderito, are you able to unmute and say something?
Thank you, Doc. I was just going through the comments, but allow me to somehow react on my own. I said that I'm understanding that the CPD is more or less now, making it better. This continuous process, the staff improvement, improving their skill, knowledge, and that kind of mindset. But I was asking myself, this issue of even when we do that, because I'm in Kenya University first and foremost, and I train teachers. I also follow them when they are doing the teaching practice. And one of the things that I've learned, even after doing all those kind of effort, there are some of my teachers that require more than just talking to and in that interaction, because you find most of them, and particularly this age, we are calling the Gen Z and the cross to the Gen Z. Most of them, even when they're in a class, they actually rely on the internet, and most of the time you find them in the social media. For example, when I was teaching in high school, I was in mathematics. And this is what now make me more mad. When a teacher in mathematics would only give one question, and that is the introduction. You give an example, and then from there, you switch now to the social media and you leave the student to continue with the work. So one, I appreciate this kind of platform where teachers now, are professionally, are growing. But then there's that issue to do with that. What do we do to these young men and women that are in that age bracket? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nene. Thank you very much for a very keen emerging issue. And this is something over time as we unpack the sessions, we need to think through, how do we respond to this emerging issue? How do we ensure that we are proactive and we are not caught through this process? That is a very, very pertinent issue that you have experienced and you have shared. Thank you very much. So I think we have responded to our colleagues, and we have seen what they have said, and we have heard. We all have different responses. Nene from Kirinyaga University, we had Cliff there who had trained people during COVID, we had Winnie from Uganda. We are all coming here from our countries with different roles. But there's something interesting that we want to make a change. We want to respond to what is happening. But we also want to be proactive, because if we have somebody in a country where they have gone through something, we're not going to wait until it happens from us. But we learn from them so that in the event it happens to us, we are already knowing the remedy on how to address it. So that is very important, because this is our opportunity to hear from different countries, to hear from different people, because as I said earlier, let's hold that difference rather than trying to decide immediately which perspective is correct. We need to wear those open-mindedness, thinking hats, so that whatever people are sharing, we are asking ourselves, does it fit? Can it work? What if? And it is very evident from what people have been saying, and even from Nene, who said lastly, teacher competency is key. And they need to know. And I know Efa asked about the standards, and Samuel also asked about the standards, and these standards will be shared. We need to agree when we say this is a teacher, what are the bare minimum? What is that attributes that we want them to be? And once we know that bare minimum, we need to ask ourselves, how do we get there? How do we nurture them to be there? And that is where professional learning comes in. There are pathways which can move them there. And we had an example that as we might be using those pathways, but we have outliers who are not still meeting that act of requirement. And you can imagine when you have an ill-fitting teacher, the downstream effect, how many learners are being affected because of that teacher. And therefore, support system is very key. How do we support them? They are already in this profession. How do we support them so that they are successful? So, and we fully agree from what people have been sharing. Support is not an all-one event. It is something continuous. Things are changing. Curriculum is changing. Emergency is changing. Interest is changing. Perspective is changing. So how do we become proactive so that we ensure that we are ahead of the game? And this connects with teacher competencies, continuous professional learning, as well as the policy. Because sometimes we fall short because of the policy. Is the system okay? The leadership, the resources, the accountability. And these are not conclusions we are going to close today. I'm just echoing your interest to try and ask ourselves, as we embark on this journey, what lenses are we going to carry? How are we going to face this challenge? How are we going to learn from each other so that we grow together? And therefore, I take you to now think the lens toward yourself. From what you have heard and from what people have said, can you share what you already know about PD? Just a short, share it in the chat, or what you want to understand about PD. Let's share in the chat. And I'm going to pick a few people. At the end of this series, everybody would have spoken. I'm taking my chat as I call people. So you will be called and you'll share. Tell us, you choose one. There are two questions. You can choose any. What is it that you already know, or what do you want to know, so that we can also learn from you? Alan Wanyonyi is already saying where we plan Mombasa. Okay, thank you very much, Alan. You are already beginning to look at our communities. Thank you, Wekesa. We have two questions to answer. Something you want to better understand through this COP, or something you already know you want to share so that we learn from you. Joan Nweke, can you unmute and share? Joan Nweke. Are you able to unmute and share?
Hello?
Yes. People are sharing. Thank you very much, Dr. Nicole. Dr. Nicolene, can you unmute and share? Tell us more.
Thank you, Doc. Good afternoon, everybody. I think what really stands out for me here, and even in the context here for the Bafokeng, the Royal Bafokeng where I work, is that continuous rather than once-off professional development and is important, and that it should be connected directly to teachers' daily classroom realities. It shouldn't be so far-fetched that people can't bridge and meet that cognitive dissonance between what is being scaffolded. And then also what we are finding very, very clearly is that the professional and continuous professional development does not work without building relationships, trust, and shared practice. So there's a lot about action, but if we don't build those relationships and mentor and coach in a local context, it's almost like the once-off donation, and then when you get back in a few years' time, there's nothing left. So that's what's coming up for me.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. Can we hear from Jacomina Motitswe? Jacomina, can you unmute and share?
Yes, thank you. For me, teacher professional development, when it is applied like the top down, it is where now the government or institution are failing, because sometimes you can think of the development of teachers without knowing their development need, their developmental needs. And remember, educators, teachers are the ones that are implementing. They are the ones that are using, that are operationalizing the policies. So if someone, the policymakers or whoever up there decides for the professional development plans for teachers or for educators, then that is where it is failing. So for me, I would rather say the school or institutional improvement plan where educators are identifying their needs, and the government or the officials should consider those needs and provide also relevant resources for effective implementation of those development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is great, and we can see what people are saying, and this is an opportunity. There are questions being asked, and there are people who are sharing what they already know. And this is an opportunity for us to learn from each other, because now you have identified what you already know and what you want to know. So I want to also ask you, what is one aspect of professional development in your country that you already understand well? And what is one aspect that in a country that you like to understand better? And you have seen that people have transcended in terms of policy. People have talked about support, structures, provision. You've heard it need to be continuous. So this is very important as we think about how the process is, because it is not only one area and there is no the right answer. But the more we sit here and the more we share with each other, then you find that we are going to develop a deeper perspective from different angles. I know I can see what Dr. Moro was asking. She would like to hear from different people. How is your CPD working? How are you succeeding? And what are the strategies you are doing? And also I saw a question from Eva. So you can see what your colleagues are asking. And this is why this opportunity for us to be together allows us to share with each other. And I would like to hear from you as you read what people are saying. What is it that you are noticing across the contexts? Just read what people have said. Remember, I told you we have multiple ways of expressing ourselves. We are hearing from the ideas, from evidence, but we're also hearing from experiences from our colleague. So I want you to share in the chat and share a response of what do you already understand from what you have read, not what you brought. What are you picking from your colleagues, what they have said? Something you want to understand better from what they are saying, or something you have learned from what your colleague are saying? Let's hear from you. Read the responses from your colleague and then share with us what is it that you are taking away. And as you are writing, I want Kamala to say something. Kamala Naika, what is it that you are taking away from your colleagues? Kamala? Kamala, are you able to unmute? Kamala is not. I have Shahinabahu Patel. Can you unmute and share? Patel, can you unmute and share? Judith Yaema? Judith, can you unmute and share?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's
Good
Shahina
afternoon.
Patel from South Africa. Shahina Patel. Thank you very much for a wonderful platform. You have created a very wonderful platform. This is my first time where I am collaborating with different professionals from across the Africa continent. In South Africa, we do have some groups where we are collaborating with the other teachers from different provinces. But this is a wonderful platform. For this platform, I must say thank you very much for such a wonderful platform. For sure, I'm going to learn a lot, and whatever I will learn, I will share with my colleagues, and I will encourage others to join as well. As we grow, the knowledge will grow.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you very much. Dr. Murray is saying something interesting. Doc, can you share? You are putting alignment with engineer lawyers. Please unmute and tell us something, Doc.
Yes, thank you. I cannot help but compare the fact that with other professionals, you know, the bankers, the lawyers, the doctors, they're always engaged in professional development. And if you want to think about it a bit critically, can you imagine going to a doctor whose only training was taken some 40 years ago? And this is the very problem that we're having with us teachers. Your initial training is all you know 40 years down the line, and it's really very wrong. The other thing is about these other professionals is that they take responsibility over their own development. So I think that's also a culture that we need to begin to have as teachers. Our growth is our responsibility.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. I like that you cannot be treated by somebody who has outdated knowledge. Can life be changed by somebody who has outdated knowledge? So that's a challenge for all of us. And I think from what everybody is saying, it's very important now we have started creating those inquiry states. Some things you already know, something you want to know, and it will be very critical if we now start to think throughout your COP, how are we going to progress together as we unpack what is going to be us here? Because we are told that particular journey, and we need to explore our contexts. We need to explore what is it that we are doing, how are we doing it, and what impact is it? And from that, we identify a meaningful question or opportunity which we want to apply throughout an authentic workplace activity. Because you don't want this to just be a discourse or a discussion or just theories, but we want to think, how do we do our principles into practice? How do we take what we are coming out from here and applying it in authentic situation? But we don't just apply, but we also reflect on what we see. We ask ourselves, if I do this, so what? How am I learning? But when we learn, we don't just sit there, we come back and share. Wekesa Toby, your hand is up quickly. Share in a minute, Wekesa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to echo what Dr. Mweru has just said. And being in Kenya, you'll always realize that policies are made in boardroom meetings. Government sit down or government officials sit down and come up with these policies. You only see them sitting in those boardroom meetings. But now when they come and implement them on the ground, the way they do them, you see, you get confused. Even themselves, sometimes they don't understand how to implement them. So when we have something like the one we are having now, you see, I'm so much impressed. We are having several teachers all over, or people all over the world attending this. I'm taking home a lot of information and knowledge as compared to the way my government is equipping me with the knowledge. Like now what Dr. Samuel has just said, professional development. I'm taking for that development by myself, but not the government. So that is my take.
Thank you very much, Wekesa, for that. Abongile, please, quickly, so that we finish. Abongile, Guldende, Abongile.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I hope I'm audible.
You are audible. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm Abongile from South Africa. I want to just chip in with what had been said, I think earlier in the presentations that we had, of how teachers in some parts of the continent are incentivized for their services, and how such remuneration affects even the morale of teachers. You know, in other fields, I've been exposed to some friends of mine who are in the health sector, where there is you know, visible development in as far as when a person develops themselves in equipping themselves with skills and knowledge and even qualifications that they are obtaining along the way. But unfortunately for us in the education sector, one can study to the highest level of their education, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that there will be any, you know, recognition or incentive that they are going to be getting. Now, with this, I'm going to a point.
Thank you very much, Abongile. We can continue this discussion in the Google Classroom because of time commitment. I appreciate your contribution. Please, let's take it over. All those people who have their hands up, apologies. We can continue the discussion in the Google Classroom. You can share and we can interact. But I respect what you have said, and it is very, very important so that we continue documenting what we are learning from here. Thank you very much, Abongile, for your contribution. And this is the task which we are having, which we can share our idea. I'm sharing the link on the chat. You can see that link is there. We are expecting you to look at a key policy document. I like what Wekesa said. I like what Abongile has said. We need to challenge these policies. Let's come here and share them and say, what are they giving us? I can see F. Angote has given another good example of how they do it in Kenya. So if we can work to this assignment. Share your idea here. And when you share your idea there, it will be very important for us to learn from each other. And then we have a resource pack, and the resource pack is just in the Google Classroom. You can go in the Google Classroom and you'll be able to have articles, you'll be able to have, there's also a link for a WhatsApp chat. If you are in a position where you can do a WhatsApp, we will appreciate that a lot. And then as we finish, we said, and Dr. Richard told us that it's not only Zoom. After Zoom, we are giving you an opportunity to go and explore, internalize what you apply, and then document. So between now, September 2nd, when we are meeting again, we will be interacting in the Google Classroom and in the WhatsApp. So as a reflection, I want you to look back on those questions of reflection, and I want to hear your voice. Pick any. What is one key insight you are taking from today? Share it in chat. How might you apply it in your own context? Choose any of those 3 questions and share it in chat. Please share in the chat. Somebody is asking the next sessions. It's 2 weeks from now. Or what question would you like to share for? Thank you very much, Richard. Share in the chat. And as you are sharing in the chat, those are the 3 questions. What you are taking away from today, how might you apply it, and what question are you carrying forward? I like Dr. Richard to give his closing remark for this session. Over to you, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Mina. Wow, I said, wow, what a great opportunity this is for all of us to learn together. And just reflecting on the session today, as we come to the end of it, I'd like to say a very sincere thank you to everyone who's contributed for your time, your openness, your ideas, and most importantly, sharing your experiences with each other. One of the things that struck me today is that although we come from different countries and work in very different contexts, many of the challenges we face are similar. That should also give us confidence, because across this community, there is an enormous amount of experience, knowledge, and good practice. And that is what makes a community of practice like this so powerful. We don't have to solve these challenges alone. We can learn from what others have tried, share what's worked, be open about what hasn't, and adapt those lessons to our own context. And just as important as the knowledge we've begun to share today, I believe, are the connections we're making. A conversation today can become a collaboration tomorrow. An idea from one country can spark a solution in another. A challenge that feels difficult in isolation may look very different when we bring together the experience of this very community. And therefore, I hope we leave today not simply with more information, but with new connections, new possibilities, and a renewed sense of what we can achieve by working and learning together. I've certainly got that from today. So thank you to our speakers, organisers, and everyone who participated, particularly our UNESCO Director, Quinton, and his colleagues, Victoria and Marianne. And I should also like to thank Camelia, who you haven't seen today, who's sitting behind the scenes making everything work for us all. And of course, Mina, for his outstanding facilitation today and engagement. I've really enjoyed being part of this and looking forward to the next number of sessions that will take place through to December. So let's keep the conversation going, keep sharing, keep making connections, and above all, keep learning from one another. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Richard. We want to take a group photo. I've shared a link in the chat, and that is our feedback form. Please make sure you take the feedback. But for now, I'm requesting if you can put your camera on and we take a group photo to this particular session. If you can put your camera on, we take a group photo. We are really, really appreciative of your session. And normally we have a signature song, which we'll be playing as we take our group photo.
Master kids African, it's time to go to school. Welcome. Let's go to school. We never retire. I'll never look my dad. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school. We never retire. I'll never look my dad. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wake up in the morning, I wash up my face, I lift up my eyes and pray to the Father to guide on my way. I look at my future, this I want to be. I can never be so sad, worried in my life. Ndimukumunina musinji, kusoma anti go musinji. It's the key to the future, everywhere I go. Let's go to school, we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wanna be a doctor when I grow up. Teach all my friends and the people at home. Teach them to love my mother, my father, my country. Manina masuri tene. What if this is full of? To go what's about? How come never keep up? Really shows pick up your pen and let's go.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you in the Google Classroom. And I will say from Mombasa, Kenya, asanteni sana. Mariam, you have a word before everybody goes?
No, Mina, I think Richard said it all, and you did it too. So thank you both. You're amazing. Our group is amazing. Look at all these faces. Look at all these places where we come from. I'm just so happy to be here with you. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.